Welcome everyone to a little bit of light awaiting Moshiach. The prophet Yeshaya, Isaiah, in Parak Samach Vav, chapter 66, Pasuk Yud, verse 10, Simchu es Yerushalayim v'gilu ba kol ohaveha, which translates as, be glad with Jerusalem and rejoice in her, kol ohaveha, all you who love her. Sisu ita masais kalamis ablim oleha. Exult with her in exaltation, all you who mourned for her. So again, be glad with Yerushalayim, rejoice in her, all you who love her. Exult with her in exaltation, all you who mourned for her. So the prophet says, all those who mourned will exult with Jerusalem. And on this, the Talmud, in Tractate Tainus, Lamed Amid Beis 30b, comments, Mikan Amru, based on this, our sages said, whoever mourns over Jerusalem, merit and sees its rejoicing. Those who mourn over Jerusalem will rejoice over it. Now, there is a famous question that's asked on this comment of the Talmud, and it's based on diktuk, on Hebrew grammar, because the wording is kalamis abel Yerushalayim, whoever mourns over Jerusalem, zoche v'roeh b'simchasa. Zoche translates as merits and sees its rejoicing. That's present tense. The question is asked that really the wording should be, whoever mourns over Jerusalem will merit and will see its rejoicing. Its rejoicing. Why does it say it in the present tense? Now, I do believe that we find in different places where you could actually have the present tense used for future. But it's still very interesting that the Talmud chose to use the present tense instead of the more clearer way, which would have been the future tense. And the answer that's given, and this answer is given in the name of Chaim Elazhner, many commentaries explain this, and they explain this with a very interesting concept that we can appreciate when we go back in Chumash, back to when the brothers sold Joseph, and when their father, Yaakov, found out, was told that Yosef Yaakov was under the impression that Yosef was devoured by a wild animal. So it says that all his family tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And Rashi there comments that the reason why he refused to be comforted, and he remained in a state of avelus, of mourning, which means intense mourning. He remained like that until he was reunited with Yosef, is because there is a principle that Hashem gives us what's called a gift of forgetting. Hashem gives us the gift of forgetting, which means the wording of the Talmud is we forget the person who passed away. If we wouldn't forget the person who passed away, we'd go crazy. That doesn't mean we forget. But it means we're able to come back to a sense of normalcy. There's a certain level of very difficult grief and mourning that we go through when we first experience the loss. And then as time goes on, we forget the mace, we forget the person who died, not we forget, but we kind of come to terms with the reality that they're not going to be here with us, and we're able to get back to functioning regularly. If we wouldn't be able to do that, we wouldn't be able to survive. The reason why Yaakov was never comforted over the loss of his son is because the idea of, just use the word forgetting or getting over the person who passed away, is because they passed away. But if they're really alive, then that doesn't happen. If they're really alive, even if you don't realize they're alive, but if they're really alive, then you really cannot experience that moving on, because they're really alive. It's only a dead person that there was this gift or this decree of moving on, of getting over the loss. But if they're still alive, then you can't get over the loss. Therefore, although Yaakov thought Yosef was dead, since he was actually still alive, he could never move on from his grief and from his mourning. And with that idea, we now apply that to our question, or to our topic at hand. If a person mourns over Jerusalem, what does that mean? What does that really mean? Or let's look at it from a different angle. What if a person doesn't mourn over Jerusalem? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Then that means that Jerusalem in such a person is dead. Because that's why you move on. If you're still mourning over Jerusalem, if you can still mourn over Jerusalem, then that means that Jerusalem is still alive. Where is it still alive? In you. There is exile that the Jewish people as a whole experiences, and part of exile is the personal exile that each and every person experiences, that disconnect from the divine presence of Hashem. But if a person can still find within themselves to mourn over the loss of Yerushalayim, if you're still mourning, then that means it's still around. It's still alive. And that's what it means that's why the sages chose the present tense. Because what they're alluding to is the fact that when you mourn over Jerusalem, you actually merit now to see its joy. What do you mean to see its joy? To see that it's still alive. It's still alive in you. It's still alive in us. If we can mourn, then that means Jerusalem is still alive. And we're still connected to the light of Jerusalem, to the light of Moshiach, to the light of the Beis HaMikdash of the Holy Temple. So of course, it doesn't exclude the fact that if you mourn over Jerusalem, you will merit to see its ultimate joy. But our sages were alluding to a present tense joy. The present tense joy is the joy of Jerusalem that every single person could see now is to be able to mourn, to truly mourn, and in that, you see the joy of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is still alive in each one of every one of us. And our hope is that as much as we keep the light of Jerusalem alive and burning within us, with that will merit to be able to experience in its full extent the life and the fire of the Beis HaMikdash returning to us with the coming of Moshiach Tzidkenu. Amen. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.